Hello and welcome. This is part of SEER's Frontier Partner Series. This is a series of webinars that we run focused on enabling businesses as end customers, Microsoft Dynamics partners, become frontier-focused businesses. So today's session, we're going to talk about implementation tools. So one of my passionate areas, and I'm pleased to be joined with Jay from Mercurius. And Jay, would you like to kind of introduce yourself and your organization?
Thank you very much, Sam, and thanks for inviting us as Mercurius to this webinar. I'm Jay Tahasildar. I'm founder and managing director of Mercurius IT. Uh, Three numbers. I've been in ERP and CRM business for 29 years. Started Mercurius IT 21 years ago, just completed 21 years on 1st of February. And we've been Microsoft partners for last 15 years. And as you can see from this slide, we work with 250 plus customers. While our focus is mainly UK and Ireland, we have our customers overseas subsidiaries in at least 35 plus countries, and we've been supporting them, rolling out and supporting them right from Australia, East Coast to West Coast of US and everything in between. So lots of customers taking that 24/7 services from us. I have delivered all three business applications: Dynamics 365, Business Central, Finance and Supply Chain, CRM. Business Central, of course, remains the biggest part of the business. Power Platform, as well as Agentic AI solutions lately. Have won multiple awards and enjoying fantastic success in recent times.
Great introduction, Jay. And I first came across Jay many years ago, back in 1999, I think it was, in doing a barn project at a company called Lister Better in Dursley many years ago. So they were kind of the fun days when we were back on the tools more often than we are today. So it's been a real pleasure kind of working with Jay. As he says, they've got a huge selection of solutions that they work with. But I guess, from your perspective, Jay, your background in, I think, SAP as well as Barnes, so you kind of come across those enterprise products as well as more SMB and SMC focused projects. So I guess brings me to one question, as we get into the questions that we have. Um, and then we have kind of series of questions we want to go through today. And uh, I guess everybody goes into delivering these projects because it's a fun activity, right? So it is a necessity for businesses, and I guess our goal is for our customers to make it as painless and as value driven as possible. It's not always the case. I know some of the projects we have are the customers on real tight deadlines due to
Mhm.
disposals, imperative business needs. So we do have those issues. But I guess we've got some discussion topics to talk through. And I guess my first question really is, uh, we've been in this game for almost 30 years, and what have you seen as kind of the evolution of those projects we did with Barn and SAP to where we are today?
Absolutely. You're right. So you reminded me of our earlier interaction in 1999 when we both were delivering bond projects. I started my career with Siemens, with SAP to begin with, really, and then moved to Bond, came back to SAP, and then eventually landed on Microsoft Dynamics. And you may remember, actually, during Bond days, there was one particular solution called Dynamic Enterprise Modeler we thought was well ahead of its time because it allowed customers to actually model their business processes and connect it with backend ERP. Frankly, ERP and CRM implementations are, they are as it's written on the tin, because for customers, it's not really the business package, it's their business process that's very important. And those business process, they want to adopt best practices as much as possible. And our job as their partners is to ensure that we understand their business challenges and provide them right solution. We have been doing that for well over 29, 30 years now. The big change has been really the way we have delivered those projects in past. Old way, on-premise solutions, monolithic code, less flexible, customizations in source code made it difficult to upgrade. made it difficult to adopt new solutions. And still, we delivered so many projects, took longer, ROI was long. Over a period of time, you've seen actually evolution towards cloud and now from cloud to really SaaS. So software as a solution, the solutions that we deliver these days, Dynamics 365, Business Central, CRM, FSCM, those SaaS solutions are now more flexible. Number one, because there is no customizations in the source code. So the whole extension philosophy allows you to really deliver those solutions, added the value addition stuff using ISV solutions really quite flexibly. And the whole process becomes agile. And as you know, with this advent of agentic AI, your backend SaaS data models or any of your data sources now, you still can put your agentic AI layer on top and make it even more agile, nimble, and flexible. That's really has been a big change. I mean, while we've seen these implementations for a long time, I do believe that in next 5 to 7 years' time, the ERP and CRM implementations are going to look quite different. It is going to need really more nimble, agile approach as we go along.
And that's kind of it's kind of interesting. So the first project I did with Barn as a consultant, we were working on a product that was very hard to customize. And I guess SAP at the time was very similar in that you were trying to keep to a standard SAP model, and then the Dynamics products came out, with Nav and Acceptor, and we were able to kind of develop more. And and the consulting process went from trying to meet the standard product to kind of customize to fit the customer's need, and we ended up with some pretty big customization. Of course, you're seeing that kind of evolving again back to more in the SaaS world. You probably need to be you have to upgrade to the latest release every wave, right? And so the extensions start to do that. But do you also think that's partly also driven by customers being more experienced and knowing the impact of major kind of customizations on their ability to adopt new features? That kind of change their expectations, what they want out of your services team?
Yeah, Sam, if you think about it really, previous approach that customers used to take for this big bang ERP, CRM type implementations were driven by BPR, early 90s, mid 90s, really, business process re-engineering activities carried out by consultants. And then they used to really drive the implementation team to follow those businesses or business processes re-engineered by consultants, really. And so customization and coding was really just the thing. Everybody just expected that's how the process will be delivered. And they wanted to really make sure that whatever process that they have designed, ERP has to adapt to it. So they did a lot of customizations. Of course, then came the next phase where people started saying that, oh, it's IT-enabled BPR or ERP-enabled BPR. And then customers started becoming more open towards adopting best business practices as prescribed by these ERP companies like SAP, BON, Microsoft. I think what I've always realized actually, and I've seen observed really, is customers are interested in their business processes to run swiftly, efficiently, to have high productivity. And they need good partners to guide them through that process, whether it is implementation or upgrade, using pragmatic and best practices. And the reality is, one size does not fit all. One approach does not suit all, really. It's important to get into customers' shoes, understand their aspirations, their goals, as well as constraints when we go along this. Obviously, now customers are more open to go with that configured plus approach. Use ISV solution whenever there are gaps. Use extensions whenever there are gaps so that you don't really go and customize your source code. But at the same time, that approach for delivering best practices actually is not going to be really same for everybody. There are some people who will go with that big bang 360-degree transformation programs. Some people will go with fast track implementations or technical upgrade. The approach could vary. The important thing is really we as partners have learned to work with customers to adopt right approach. And hence, appropriate tools are really necessary to make sure that we deliver the solutions which are right for customers' aspirations.
And yeah, and obviously we touched on the tools there. So in the session I did last week, and we focused with one of our other partners on the discovery process and making sure that you really capture those customers' needs up front. I always said when I run my own partner business was it's important we sell the right deal. I don't think we go into this to sell deals we can't deliver. But sometimes if you don't have the tooling to really assess that customer's needs and how does that tap into our target solution, it's hard. So from the delivery point of view then, so what sort of tooling do you and the team use, I'm curious, to support your customers on projects?
I'll just take you back a few years when the success of large ERP project, let's take large SAP, ECC projects, was always dependent on the quality of consultants. And of course, the participation by customer. It's not just one way fair relay, it's two-way ticket. And because the product was getting so complex and so sophisticated, if you didn't have a good functional consultant to understand the business process needs actually and adapt the right solution, the project would be a disaster. The outcome would be really bad. And hence, people would kind of used to push to use best practice or methodology. Everybody kept on saying that, hey, as a consultant, the choice of selecting the right solution for a business process should not be subjective to the experience and quality or skill of that consultant, really. But then it was a reality because people came from different backgrounds, different levels of skills. For many years, I used to think that if only we had really a tool that would allow us to map customers' business processes to the functionality and features given by a product in a very methodical way, allow us to identify the gaps, also match those gaps with maybe ISV solutions or extensions made available by the other ISV vendors, really. It would really make everybody's life easy, right? We keep talking about we must have a higher productivity even in our business as a partner. But nobody really was talking about how do we increase that productivity? What kind of tools do you use? Of course, people had loads of long checklist or list of questions, spreadsheets to go through. They would write documents, but then the whole process of going through that checklist and list of questions and capturing information still was very subjective to the quality and the skill of a resource, the experience of a consultant, really. What we've seen in recent times, and Sam, thanks to you and CA365, the tool-like guide, whether it is discovery or design, gives us that ability to make sure that we go through that process with exhaustive checklist of questions, making sure that whichever is the consultant, really, they don't miss out anything. Everything that's recorded is then captured properly and converted into a document format that's very easily readable in terms of what's matching the product features and what are the gaps, and then relating those gaps to either ISV solutions or developing extensions, because more and more gaps we see in the process, we tend to deliver that as an extension itself, sold as software as a solution, rather than selling the number of customization days. Because at the end of the day, what value we add is really in that extension that's doing the job, plus it can be easily upgraded every 6 months when Microsoft releases their waves, actually. And that tool, whether it is discovery during pre-sales or design during the project execution, they are very useful. And we always are looking for really the tools like Guide 365 tools, really, which would help us take away that subjectivity from implementations, make sure that we deliver consistent implementation no matter which project, no matter which consultant who's working on that project really, and get that productivity as well as standardization in terms of process. Because at the end of the day, earlier we said that customers are interested in best practices, right? Their focus is their business, and they want partners' help to adopt those best practices. These tools are extremely important. They would help you make it faster. They'll help you make projects kind of go smoother and safer to reduce the risk. Because otherwise, if your project is linked, or your project success or failure is linked to the participation of a consultant or a participation of a customer's key user, then there is a problem, right? So yeah, I think I personally strongly believe that good tools would always make these projects faster and safer.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the objective when we set up SEER, was to kind of take some of the challenges we had, and we grew our last business from 40 people to 600, and we probably had a better consulting team at 40 people on as a percentage wise, because it's hard to find the experts. But the problem if you don't have tooling is your team gets stuck on activities that they're over skilled for, right? So which kind of leads us to the next topic, is because what we really wanted with Guide was to be able to say, look, there are activities that should be standard, we should be cookie cutter, maybe a more junior person can do it, but we've got consistency in that, and it leave your senior people, your experienced people, to do other activities that are actually vital for the customer, right? So things like, and I think educating the customer on using the new tooling, the change management, and we too often these projects I found that we used our budget on the mundane activities, and we don't have enough budget to support the customer transition. Now, has your team kind of found this are you kind of adapting to that way of using the time back that you're getting for more productive purposes?
I think we are delivering more pre-sales engagement with the same number of people, and we are delivering more projects with same number of consultants. Definite improvement in productivity, primarily because I'll give you an example. In old days, a pre-sales consultant would visit a customer or have a Teams call, spend 2-3 hours with the customer to understand their requirements, note down everything, and we'll get busy for next week or 2 weeks actually due to some other high priority activities. When he or she would get back to writing a document and making a proposal, either they'll forget, or because they were rushing into that job, they'll kind of compromise on quality. The advantage now is when we capture customers' requirements on Guide tool, we are not really losing any time because we are able to just convert that into a project. So the time that they save is the time they use in value addition. So I don't say that whatever we get as an output from Guide is 100% ready to deliver, but at least now consultant has got more time to review it thoroughly and carry out that value added activities. And whenever we actually improve that document, adding a flow, adding some comments, really, that's really the time that they spend on. So that's giving them lots and lots of hours back. That's really during this discovery process. So we are turning around the proposal fastest. Some of the customers we've worked with in recent times actually gave us that feedback, that they quite liked our proposal. They quite liked the whole approach of discovery and making sure that we don't miss out on anything, and we give a very accurate representation of their needs. And then that kind of carries forward on design process. Now, we know, we've been working together for more than 3 years. Not every consultant was comfortable on day one, but over a period of last 3 years, by going through that change management process, functional consultants adopted the design as a tool really to make sure that, again, the time that they save in writing documents is used for the value addition, to making sure that the right configuration is done, to make sure that right ISV solution is selected, that if the extension is required, that design is correct. Overall, I think it definitely gives back lots of hours back.
And has that kind of shaped? I think you've grown, pretty extensively over the past 3 years we've worked together. I mean, is that kind of changing the outlook and the sort of people you want in the organization as you grow?
I guess so. I guess so. In fact, I initially had thought that we perhaps would need less senior people and we can work with more mid-level people. But we kind of turned it around and we said, well, with a good tool now, we perhaps don't need too many junior people in the organization. As long as we have good mid to senior level consultant solution architects, really, if they use tool, they can do more jobs. They can do more pre-sales engagements. They can do more proposals, or they can deliver more projects, because the time otherwise they would have spent sitting in that dark corner of the office writing documents for 3 4 5 days, sometimes they're using that time to give back to delivering better work. So I think in last 3 years, I personally think that we have benefited immensely and our customers have benefited immensely, because we are now able to bring in more senior resource but less number of resources actually. So
And
we benefit as well as customers benefit.
there's a continuity there, isn't it, where they're working with the same kind of people, and you can get that specialization built into people. So I think that was good. I think it does lead to kind of the empirical challenge with AI, right? Where it enables people to do more. We still probably have as leaders how do we make sure there's younger people coming in to replace that? So there's probably the different challenge, and I know I'm passionate with Guide just to make sure it's a tool also for a junior consultant to kind of be able to adapt faster, because there's knowledge within the platform. I remember that first project I was on, I had to deliver a training course in a few days after learning the product, and I think with Guide actually having that as my script to ask those requirement questions with, that would have been super useful. So I think there's a play there as well. So one of the things we talked about in the preamble to this was we moved from that. Well, I believe we're moving away from that. Let's bill as many hours and days as possible to billing by value. Are you seeing that? I mean, I think I was kind of I've spoken to a few partners and they're talking about kind of the change in the commercial model. Have you seen that happening? Are you taking advantage of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think old days on-premise solution, lots of customization days after the solution design was over. We've kind of turned it around. And now what we do is really we have built over the years actually loads of extensions. And because we face these requirements and these gaps again and again, we are able to deliver those gaps using extensions rather than customization days. And customers are happy with that approach, because if they are buying Microsoft Dynamics ERP or CRM product as software as a service paid on per user per month basis, then they are very happy to also pay for those gaps as extensions. The advantage is they don't really have to burn a lot of money actually upfront to pay for those customization days. Two, we develop those extensions and we maintain those extensions. And as we go along, we can keep improving those extensions. So it's almost like you implement standard Business Central or CRM or ERP, FSCM. You pick up ISVs when there are big gaps, and you develop and deliver smaller extensions when there are smaller gaps. I think customers are happier with that approach.
And basically, I mean that's one of the downsides of customization, right? Who maintains it? How do you keep them relevant? And your approach is keeping those under the latest features and maintaining that. That's a huge kind of benefit to the customer, I guess. And are you able to reuse those with other customers as well? So you're kind of building up your own kind of portfolio of solutions?
Quite a lot. It is a portfolio of extensions that we deliver, and a number of those extensions then we convert into products and launch it on Microsoft AppSource on the marketplace. So we now have a team which didn't exist 5 years ago. This team is responsible for packaging those extensions actually and converting into products that we sell on marketplace. And I think again that has improved our reach, because on marketplace not only UK or Irish customers, but customers anywhere in the world are able to access that extension or that market space place product, download and use it.
So I guess as we kind of close off, we've got kind of two audiences here. So as an end, if you were an end customer, looking to deploy a business application, what kind of 3 top tips would you give them?
Okay, because we always look at customers, supply chain, business process maturity. One thing that we always look at is where they are in terms of that maturity model, really. And we ourselves define it as level 1, 2, 3, 4. Level 1 are those customers who are using that solution, ERP or CRM, in a transactional mode, entering sales order transaction, purchase order transaction, receiving goods, delivering goods. Moving from level 1 to controlled kind of environment where we have better flow, better master data management, really. And that level 2 to level 3 where they are using more proactive workflows and proactive processes, to level 4, which is, in my opinion, the highest level of that supply chain maturity, where their solution becomes more predictive and intelligent. That's where our team is doing a lot of work on AI and agentic solution. Because to move customers' business process maturity from transactional to controlled and controlled to proactive, and then eventually proactive to predictive and intelligent, you do need all those nice Copilot and AI agentic tools to help them adapt to these business improvements, really. And what we've done is in recent times is we've commissioned a workshop called Art of Possible. And what we do is we engage customer for a few hours in that Art of Possible workshops, where we demonstrate to them what AI is and what AI tools are doing for generally customers in their industry. That's first part. In the second part, we demonstrate ready solutions from Microsoft and Mercurius IT in that AI and agentic space. And in the third part, we brainstorm together to identify use cases where we can very quickly scope and deliver the agentic solution. And I think customers are really enjoying that journey. They can clearly see that they are not using ERP as just a transactional tool anymore. They actually are making that journey from transactional tool to predictive and intelligent tool using a good use of course, AI and agentic. So Sam, yeah, I think I'm really excited after working in this field for 30 years that next 5 to 10 years is going to be even more interesting.
Oh, you're obviously right. I mean, and it's interesting where ERP became a little bit boring, but now for customers to really take advantage of the AI and agentic experience, actually the fundamental is a solid ERP system you can leverage. Without that, I think you're right. Without the core structures in place, I mean, the AI modeling or solutions isn't going to work in the way that it might even cause more damage, I would say. So I think it's a good place and kind of makes AI ERP really relevant again in terms of getting that core done right. But yeah, starting with that to be where you want to go, that vision is great. So I really appreciate your time, Jay. I think as we kind of wrap up the session, we for those that are interested in learning more about the Guide platform, check us out, guide365.com. There's some free to use elements on that website. If you want to book a demo, Info365. If you're a customer that are interested in the work that Jay and his team at Mercurius do globally, there's his contact details there. And I would encourage you to speak to Jay and his colleagues. They are experts in this space and have been for a long time. So with that, we'll wrap up. And if there are any questions, we've got a couple of seconds left. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will address them as soon as possible. But thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for Jay, and look forward to the next session.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, CA365. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Right.